Hey, Roberto here. In this episode, I speak with Gretchen Bell. She and her husband are doing a second act in their career as expats in Loreto, Mexico. Their venture involves real estate and a wine bar. We talk about the wanderlust idea that took them from California to Mexico, working with local artisans, and the careful planning of a seasonal business. Here we go. This is the Partner for Leads Biz podcast for small business owners and personal brand builders. It's for those of you who want to build your business in a smarter, relationships-first way. Would you like to know what I'm learning from business owners and entrepreneurs that I interview for this podcast and the others I've known for 10 or more years? Head over to partnerforleads.com and join our community. You'll get an occasional email from me with tips, insights, lessons learned, the latest podcast episodes, and much, much more. Plus, you'll get a free gift from me that I think you're going to enjoy. Partner for Leads is part of a referral leads group network, providing tools and resources to help referral leads groups manage all the things they need to manage, like fees, incentive programs, member activity, group growth, and sustainability. Head over to partnerforleads.com to learn more. This episode is powered by WillServe Business Solutions. WillServe helps businesses and commercial property owners increase profits and reduce expenses. They do this by helping owners realize large, specialized tax incentives and expense reductions. It's a no-risk, no-obligation, contingency-basis service. If there's no savings, there's no cost incurred by your business. WillServe doesn't need your financials or access to any of the professionals that currently serve your business. It takes 8 simple questions in less than 5 minutes for WillServe to estimate potential savings to your business. Go to partnerforleads.com/will to learn more. Again, that's partnerforleads.com/will, WILL. This episode is also powered by Copa Print, your solution for quality printing. I'm talking high-quality printing in both digital and offset, 2-color and 4-color processes. Copa Print uses eco-friendly recycled paper on all paper products. They're focused on reducing turnaround time and costs. Visit copaprint.net to see all of the amazing products they can create for your company and to see who some of their clients are and to request a quote. That's copaprint.net for all of your business printing needs. Be sure to mention that you heard about them here on the Partner for Leads podcast. They'll hook you up with a 10% discount off your first order. Welcome to another episode. I am your host, Roberto Hernandez. Gretchen is a veteran of the San Francisco Bay Area real estate world. In recent years, she and her husband fell in love with Loreto, Mexico. It wasn't all planned out, but she now owns rental property and a charming building in historic downtown Loreto, the new location of Gitano's wine bar. In our conversation, Gretchen talks about working with artisans of Loreto, planning for seasonal business, which includes timing considerations and locally available food and wine. It's an interesting story, especially if you see what she and her husband have created in Gitano's wine bar. You can see pictures in the show notes for this episode at partnerforleads.com. I think you'll like them. Here's me and Gretchen Bell. Tell me about the journey that has led you to create Gitano's wine bar.
The journey started with getting my green card, my residency in Loreto, Mexico, and being down here a good 4 to 6 weeks by myself while I waited for that process to happen, and walking through town, getting to know the old downtown area. And I came across a building that I didn't need but wanted. So we ended up buying a small little building and had no idea what we were going to do with it. It was just in a fabulous location in town. And that's how it kind of all came about. So the first floor is going to be the wine bar, and it now has an enclosed patio area as well. And then the second and third floor of the building became a rental.
I was about to ask, you just had to have the building, but now I know, given your background in real estate, that the prospect of having a rental on top works out nicely.
Yeah, and once you're in real estate, especially as long as I've been in real estate, you get addicted. So no, we didn't need it. There was no wine bar plan when we purchased it. We talked about just renting out the bottom space as office space. And then the wine bar just kind of got legs of its own, so to speak, through miscellaneous conversations. Then the next thing you know, we were building it out for a wine bar.
I love it. And what about wine? What about you and your partner in crime made you think wine bar? Why is that?
When we were first dating, it was kind of just almost a running joke because obviously you're dating, you're out, you're social, you're eating, you're drinking, whatever you may be doing. And we used to both say, wouldn't it be fun if you owned the bar? And it was just kind of a conversation that came and went. Looking back at that, no, probably would not have been fun at that age. God only knows where we would be today. And then fast forward to where we're at now, we both really enjoy wine. And before coming to Loreto, I was primarily just a red girl. And after starting to explore wines down here and in Ensenada, they have a beautiful valley down here, a wine valley, my horizons opened up with so many different wines that I would have never even thought of trying, let alone falling in love with.
Tell me about the whites that you've experienced. I, as you know from past conversation, I've been to the wine region that is in proximity to Ensenada, and I found it to be a lovely experience. But yeah, tell me about the white, because my memory's kind of faltering as far as the whites go. My wife and I generally explore both white and reds when we do that kind of thing. But tell me.
Yeah, everything's a blend. So, you'll hear, not to say that there isn't a Chardonnay. It's not about I think I'm looking at a case of Chardonnay that needs to go down to Gitano now. There is just your run-of-the-mill Chardonnay, Pinot, whatever you want to. But a lot of the whites that I really enjoyed, and even rosés, which, goodness, rosé to me is like that thing your parents bought in a box, right? Gross. They're just such incredible blends. For whatever reason, maybe it's just the amount of time I've been drinking wine, maybe it's just age, maybe it's because it's warmer down here, but I definitely have grown to really like the whites and the rosés down here, and the reds. Don't get me wrong, I'm still drinking my red, but yeah, I definitely have a more open mind now to try something versus the, I don't drink rosé, or I'm really not the white wine drinker, my husband is, let him try it. Now it's definitely a more open position of trying anything. Barzell comes out of the valley, and also down here, we have wines from everywhere. So they're readily, of course you do in California and the States as well, but they're readily available. So again, exploring and trying and tasting has really become part of this journey as well.
Well, I'm jealous of that last point that you have wines from everywhere. Actually, I'm jealous that you have a local wine region. In Panama, I was going to say two things. I think climate has a little bit to do, for me personally, of kind of enjoying whites and rosés to a different degree than I may have before, and I've seen that in others too. It's not uncommon for people here to try to resemble something close to cellar temperature and a closer temperature to that around them. So they'll be refrigerating and sometimes blasphemously putting an ice cube in it because it is so warm here. But we do have a number of wines from Argentina and Chile and Spain and Italy, which is fantastic. But I envy you for having the local region there.
Yeah, we have a lot from Argentina and Chile too. That's a good primary on the shelf. We have, a large grocery store that's the primary, and even the smaller ones that's what they're bringing in. I fly to Tijuana, and then you just either catch an Uber. You could rent a car. I haven't. The times that I have explored, I just hired one of the wine tour people. They come and they pick you up, and they get you down to your hotel, and they're so well versed with what's new, and this winery just opened, or this is a boutique winery. Nobody ever wants to stop here because, you look at their vineyard and there is no vineyard for the most part, right? Because depending on where you are in the valley is your water source. So if you're up against the foothills where the aqueduct runs, and I don't know exactly how or why they're getting more water, but, those vineyards are just lush and gorgeous like Napa. But when you hire somebody from one of the tours, which is, I think I have them there. Look, no, I guess I don't have it right in front of me. Those are the guys that are living it, doing it day in, day out. And those are the ones that, are you up for trying something different? Are you? And actually, those will be some of the wines that we're pairing at Gitano. They were just like one of the rosés. I think that was probably one of the first times that I drank a rosé and went, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, we fly to Tijuana. You got to get a car or rent a car, and then you drive about an hour and a half into Ensenada to get into the country. So yeah, it would be closer for me to go to Costco, the 6 hours, than to go all the way back to Ensenada.
Yeah, and I forgot I had to get my bearings as far as where Loreto is. So you're closer to the Sea of Cortez. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, we're on the Sea of Cortez. Loreto is a beach town, a touristy beach.
It's so funny how quickly I forget. So all that last line of questioning was really to find out, do you have a Costco anywhere near you where you are at one of the bigger towns or?
No,
Okay.
no. The only thing we have is the Sam's Club in La Paz.
Mm-hmm.
And La Paz is 4 hours away, and or 4.5, I guess. It depends on how you drive. And some people do, like I have to go down to La Paz for some business in a couple weeks, but some people do a round trip, some people just go down, they hit the Sam's Club. And they also have shopping. We're Loreto. We're a population 19,000 people. So, shopping and getting a new pair of tennies and stuff. Yeah, there's some resources here, but it's definitely a lot better to go down to like a La Paz or a Cabo.
Yep, I get it. Now, back to the wines. You have so many choices. What type of wines is Gitano's wine bar going to feature, and how much of that will be local versus from other places?
The majority of the wine list is local. There is a good selection, I think, of some Californias on there, some Napas and Sonoma Valley. And then I want to say there are maybe a few Argentinas. It's really just about who is being imported in. So I'm not an importer, although that is kind of on the things to do list. You really are restricted. For the most part, you're restricted to what has been legally imported. So yeah, I could bring 12 bottles of, Rombauer down, but they would not have been properly imported. And if SAT walked in and wanted to do a run through of the business, you're going to get a hefty fine for that.
Sure. I understand all of that.
Is that the same for you guys? When you buy wine, it's like a import label on it. It's kind of like a hologram looking little square.
Yeah, it's not a big deal for us to bring it in, but I imagine if we showed up with a case or two of anything, it's possible that they might want to ask some questions or tell us we can't bring it in. Now, we're not, as you know, I'm not in the business of wine retail or a wine bar, although we have joked a lot about, we were just talking about it the other day, about repping a vintner from the, I guess it's actually from the Lodi, no. Oh, well, anyway, one of the Northern California areas. I'm forgetting where they are. But yeah, there's that whole thing about importing it, so we'd have to figure that out. But I want to say that they're kind of lenient, but no, they don't want merchants bringing. Panama does not want merchants doing what you just described.
Exactly. I can bring in whatever I want. Rick can bring in whatever he wants, to the limitations of what we cross the border with. But for the purpose of resale, they want to see that it's been properly imported. Even when you buy, like I'm ordering cases, right, from the Valley, even all those cases coming, and I don't even know why though. Really, I haven't investigated that. I guess it doesn't apply. But even those are all stamped with that hologram, even though they're staying within country. I'll get a case of wine, and all of them are stamped as if they've been imported in. And I don't know if it's because it's the resale thing, and maybe since that's how I'm purchasing it, those cases are coming to me so that if ever there was a one through, as far as the check goes from, a legal standpoint down here, and they went into Gitano's and they were looking through the wine, everything would have been properly imported. There could not be a question, even though it's a Mexican wine, or a local wine, how we want to say that. But I haven't really crossed that. I haven't found out any more information because it really doesn't matter. But it is interesting to see things that you're buying from within the country still with an import stamp.
Well, I know a lot of what you're doing with Gitano's Wine Bar is going to be about an experience, and I say that knowing you, working with you, looking at what you've created there. Can you talk a little bit about the appearance, the look, the feel, and the experience that you're geared up for?
Well, the name Gitano means gypsy. What I envision is a relaxed, comfortable, casual place to go hang out and enjoy some wine and or beer, and have small plate dishes. That's kind of where we're starting. We ended up with a patio area that wasn't originally part of the vision. So we have a nice little maybe 100, 150 square foot patio area that has a gas fire pit going in for the October or the November, December, January month. So yeah, I'm trying to create, I'm lining up musicians right now, acoustical and just jazz singers. So just real mellow. The design of it is just real basic and simple. I've tried to procure everything here. So you've got to work with what you can get without spending an arm and a leg to have it, shift from Mexico City here. So it's real basic. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. There's nothing fancy to it. My ceiling tiles actually, hopefully, will start to get hung tomorrow. I'm putting in a burlap and cork ceiling tile that's going to hang off my ceiling because the walls are all plaster. So you echo. And even when we've had a couple of private parties now, obviously we're not open yet, but we have had a couple of private parties, and both private parties, the noise factor was unbearable. So I was able to relieve that by opening up our big front doors. We have these 2 huge slider doors that can open with screens. And we can even do a little table on the little street front there. So yeah, I don't know, think of burlap and think of cork and think of tile floors that look like wood. I have a lot of metal I use, like metal for roofing, things that you could get your hands on here. Again.
Well, assuming the conversation we're having here does culminate for me in a podcast episode, we'll feature some of the photography and the new website so that people can see what it looks like. And it is absolutely beautiful. So I love how you talk about it in an understated way, that it's basic, it's simple, everything's local, but it's really beautiful. And kudos to your photographer. They did a great job. And then also, I know we talked a little bit about the entrance that you had kind of a vision for and created. Just absolutely beautiful. So I think you've done a wonderful job there.
Thank you. That was my pride and joy. I worked all summer last, well, not all summer, but I worked like 3 or 4 weeks in the heat last year about this time. Actually maybe even August, September, staining and glazing that door. So that is my pride and joy. But all the, I don't know if you noticed all the metal work around the other doors and windows. That artisan's done everything here at the house. He's just awesome. And he can take a vision, we can talk, I can send him some examples, and of course then he makes his own thing. And so it's been a lot of little people, and when I say a lot of little people, a lot of people putting their input here and there. What do I put on a wall? Well, you go source out rock. It sounds silly, but that's really just kind of how it's all kind of come together. There was never a plan or a picture or a drawing or this. It was really, how much space do I have? Okay, how much refrigeration can I do? That's the logistic part of it. And then the rest of it was, okay, now how do we make it comfortable? Because it's a small space. Comfortable and not so crowded. And, hopefully when we swing the doors open, the vibe that we're after will be there. And if not, then hopefully the vibe will grow into it.
What do you hope to create in terms of a brand at Gitanos? Oh, I know what I was going to say now. Thanks for giving me the Spanish pronunciation, Gitanos. So for those of you that are listening, it's Gitanos. And when Gretchen and I correspond about some of the stuff that I've been helping her out with, we're it's funny. I'm of Mexican descent. I was about to say we're both gringos, really. I'm technically gringo, but I'm a Tex-Mex. But I always think Gitanos in my head, but Gitanos is the pronunciation. So thanks for that. But what do you hope to create in terms of a brand at Gitanos Wine Bar?
I don't know. I don't necessarily have an answer for that.
How about I phrase it this way? What's the impression that you want to leave people with, whether they're something they're seeing for the first time in person or online, or they've been there and what they walk away with?
The message, there's nothing like it on our side of town. So I'm the first one out the door to have this type of presence. I'm also the first one on that side of the street. As silly as that may sound, it's a long street in a little tiny town. We only have one signal light. But that side of the street has been kind of not really improved, kind of original state. This particular, the building that we bought, it was for sale in 2006. So the newspapers on the windows were 2006, and it was for sale by ours. So when I got my hands on it, we're talking 2017 when I was down here getting my residency card. So it's this purple and green and brick building that has now been transformed to more of a historic, and actually even the colors, I was given color choices, but it's in historic downtown. So there's only certain colors you can use as well, which would have been original colors on, little homes down there. So I'm hoping that people can give it an awe, an aha, like, wow, this is beautiful. How does this, I'm hoping that the experience they get and the service they get, again, continues to let them go, wow. And it be something that they want to talk about, something they want to put on their social media, something they want to take pictures in front of, whatever it may be. something that's fun, something that if you're only here for a week, you want to come down a couple of times. You don't just want to stop in once, but you want to travel back through. So, gypsies means a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? It depends on how you were raised, what you may or may not know about them, yada, yada, whatever research you may or not done. But really, gypsies, good or bad, everybody has a good or bad in whatever it is. Gypsies are travelers. And the phrase that I'm using now is not all who wander are lost. Because just because you're moving from, San Jose to Panama to Mexico to Europe to Ecuador, wherever you may be going, it's not necessarily because you're trying to find yourself or something. It's just a matter of the enjoyment of travel and the enjoyment of movement. So that's kind of where the name came from. If that all kind of goes into your question.
Yeah, it does. And it, my wife and I are of this ilk. I call us a bit nomadic and somewhat gypsy-like in that regard. We've have a lifelong history of making a couple of really big moves and then also doing a series of smaller ones, just trying different things out, sometimes for the benefit of improving on something that wasn't as wonderful as we thought it might be, but oftentimes just, I guess, out of a sense of adventure.
Because the longer you're there, or maybe not even the longer, I guess it doesn't have to take any particular amount of time, you realize that, maybe my rose-colored glasses were a little too rosy. There's great clouds here, and I think I might want to go try this instead. So I've always been a traveler. I've done a lot of different crazy things and just had a home here or had a home there for whatever the reason, sold that home. So the name of the place suits my mindset. And it doesn't have to be traveling to another city or country. It could be exploring work. It could, you know what I'm saying? It's just not staying in one, not being stuck anywhere. Maybe that's the phrase. I
get it. We've talked a little bit about this already, but maybe we can get into a little more detail on what Gitanos is going to be to a visitor when they come there and what it may be at a future date based on some things you're thinking of, one or two of which you've already mentioned. But what will Gitano's Wine Bar feature when it opens in terms of the things you can do, have, see, taste? What will be the kind of flagship things?
That's a hard question. We're definitely going to explore the different musical artists down here. I just had somebody talk to me about two young girls, 15 and 17 or something like that. They may even be sisters that do this beautiful duet, kind of jazzy, but more almost like a background. So it'll be, the thing is we have a season. So you've got, everybody coming back from Canada or the States or wherever coming in right about the 1st of October. Season is what's called open. Season starting October 1st. And that normally runs through the end of May, depending on flights back to Canada. So you have the same group, so to speak, of people coming in. So for those people, I hope that I don't want to use this term because the last thing I want is, cheers, everybody knows your name. But I want it to be a comfortable spot where when Eric, the waiter, walks up to you, he can say, hey, are you in the mood for this? And know what your likings are, and also possibly be able to say, hey, we've got a new one and you might want to try this. So I'm excited for those people to be able to come down and act like they're walking into a family kitchen, right, in a place where they are just welcomed all the time. I'm also excited, though, for, again, the tourists to come through, the newbie, and maybe be doing a wine tasting evening. We get cruise ships then. That would be pretty cool to have, if they're in on a Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day they're in, and say, okay, we're offering up a wine tasting, local winery for the afternoon with all those people coming off the ship. As well as here, a lot of people have asked, are you going to do a wine club? And it's like, oh, goodness, let me just get the doors open first. But I've had a lot of locals, are you going to do a wine club? Okay, that's a possibility. Anything's a possibility, but let me get the doors open. Let me screw up a little bit or succeed a little bit before I decide on what more I can take on. I have a couple ladies that don't drink wine that have become really good friends, and it's real common down here to walk into a restaurant with a beer in your hand, or walk into a restaurant with a solo in your hand, and it's whatever your mixed drink was from the house, right, or the car, or God knows. And that's really normal down here, even when you're walking into a bar. And none of the owners even bat an eye at it. I don't necessarily want to take that on because, again, my business will be to lack of a better term, alcohol in small dishes. But with that being said, as much as I am just going to be a wine and beer bar, I've also said, okay, you know what? We will have what was my name? Not a Roy Rogers. What was it the other day? Oh, it was a pirate. Anyway, it was names that we were coming up with for certain people. So Kim likes to drink her Jack and Diet, and Kathy likes to drink Sailor, which I think is a rum too, Sailor and Sprite. And so there'll definitely be a couple of little special cocktails on the menu for ladies that just don't drink wine, And who knows? I don't know what that will expand to in the future.
That's nice. I was going to add on the wine club thing that, having performed as a musician at several wineries in the San Jose, Santa Cruz area, and my wife actually working in a couple of different tasting rooms over the years, we got to, and being members of wine clubs, we got to sort of talk about the management of wine clubs a little bit with the owners or managers of these places, and it definitely looks like it can be a business all of its own, and often quite a revenue generator for certain wineries, or a lot of them, as you'll notice when you go to Napa or the Santa Cruz appellation or wherever, that there are always these wine clubs. But I guess my point being that I'm sure you're smart to one step at a time. I think it is a whole other leg of your business, but I don't blame your local fans for asking already.
Yeah, even just sourcing like what's going to be on my menu. If I was living next door to Costco, sure, I can get any cheese I wanted any day of the week, right? So even just sourcing menu items, and the menu is taking a little work. And even though you knew that okra was, growing like we last year, this year you've got to go to that person and go, okay, are you going to plant the okra? Are you going to pickle that for me? Because pickled okra and a mango chutney, it sounds, and a little bit of crackers with whatever with it, it's a fabulous mix. But if that source isn't making enough mango chutney this year, or pickled okra. So, yeah, and goat cheese is like a dime a dozen around here because we've got the goat farmers, and they you can go up there and source it so easily. But even flour, even just getting like a good flour here, it's like if I go to La Paz, no problem. If I go down to Costco, no problem. Now, obviously, that's where I'm going to have to resource some of these ingredients in order to get a product on a dish that I want. That in itself is going to be growing pains, let alone the wine club. Right? So I'm just like, let me do one thing at a time, and then we'll go. Yeah, and I had a lady at the door, and she thought, hey, I have a great idea for you. Okay, what's that? Come wintertime, can you do martinis? And I'm looking at everybody. And of course I can. That's a thought process. But again, let me just get this first season through and under my belt, and learning, what do they call it? Growing pains established here, and then we'll go figure out what was successful and what wasn't, and what can we do next season differently.
I suddenly had this whimsical in my own head that, as a business owner, perhaps more so in your situation, you're probably always getting these great these, I have a great idea for you, comments from people. And I had this sort of whimsical thought in my head about creating some sort of game with that all of these idea givers are part of, and they can kind of see kind of humor, the backside humor for you, because everyone's got great ideas for you and you're trying to, go one day at a time. But anyway, that's, people love you, want you to be successful, and they want to find their comforts when they go in if they can.
Well, and I've had people ask me, why aren't you open yet? Why? Because we could have opened probably May, February, March, maybe even April, but I'm coming to the end of the season. So to open for April and May, in order to keep those employees, assuming that they are the right ones, you're gonna also pay them all the way through off season, so that they come back October 1st again. So there's so many different logistics. It's not like I'm opening a wine bar in San Jose. It's not where this is a 24/7, so to speak, January through December, situation. And but with that being said, our summers here, last summer and now definitely this summer, it's packed down here. Town is packed between the Europeans and locals. I mean, you can barely even drive down the Malecon at 7:30 in the morning because there are so many local, families coming in, hanging out at the beach and filling up the local hotels, which is great. So maybe next year, at the end of our first season, as I say, we may cruise into summer longer than what I would have done a couple of years back, because it's just crazy where our casita, we have the rental in the house here, where we wouldn't have anybody in June or July or August or September for that matter. Now, I've actually got people from the States booking a week here, a week here, a week there. It's not a lot, but it's enough to show you that there's a little bit of a shift and a change going on with the people from North Canada and the States coming down during our warmest season, during the summer season.
This is kind of a personal question, but occasionally, I run into people here in Panama, expats, and they're like, oh, we're thinking about trying Mexico. And I've seen some do it, or I've seen some who came from there here and maybe went back. Is Loreto, I think it's a lovely place, but if I ever heard that, do you think Loreto's a good place to suggest they check out?
Oh, absolutely. It's still, we're not Cabo, we're not Todos Santos, we're not La Paz. It's still such a quaint town. It's a busier town, though, that's for sure. The Pescador, which is the little grocery store I run into, we have 3 grocery stores. We have the Bodega, which is a Walmart-owned store. We have Lay's, which is, they're all over Mexico, and it's like your big, I don't even know what I would refer to. Like a safe. Is
it Ray, R-E-Y?
It's L-E-I, I believe.
Okay.
I can't see it in front of me. I can't visualize their sign. And then there's the Pescador, which is right on the corner, right where that goes, where the signal light is. And that's almost kitty corner, heading south from Gitano's. And that's the place I always go because I can get in and out real quick. They don't necessarily have everything you may be looking for. You might need to go somewhere else. You definitely have to have something. But Pescador just went through a huge revamp. How is that significant? It's significant because they probably put, just guessing on terms here, at least 100 to 150,000 equivalent of U.S. money into this grocery store. So where this grocery store was, I don't want to say it's a dump, but it was not the nicest of the 3, but it was easy. It was, they had Kirkland products. They brought it from Costco, yada, yada, yada. They just did a complete redo on it, inside and out. It just, when you see things like that, it just goes to show you what's coming in. You know what I'm saying? The real estate market here, things that used to market, 6 months, a year, 18 months, 2 years, for the most part, they're going within, I would say, a 2 to 4 month period. So, and down, not in historic Loreto, which is where I'm at, but down in Nopalo or Loreto Bay, which is a very cool area as well, the building has just taken off. Every time I come in, there's 2 entrances. There's the north entrance and the south entrance. When I go down there, I come into the north entrance because obviously that's closer to me and I don't want to go all the way around. But when you pull in here, as you get closer and closer to where just the main little hub would be, all of these homes are going up. So when you see all this construction, you see the real estate market shifting into what I would call fast forward here because of marketing time improving so much. And then you look at, the grocery store. What else did they do? Pescador, across the street, apparently they owned that lot as well, and there were some crappy kind of stores there. Those were all torn down for parking. So Loreto is still super charming, but it's definitely grown.
Well, it's nice to hear.
We've got Billy Del Pomar.
It's nice to hear, though, because, just from my selfish perspective, I know that it ensures that you're going to have, gives a much greater chance for you and yours of having success with the things that you're doing there from a business perspective. And I know that you're there perhaps more so just to be there. But I also, remember it as a very charming place. And I think it's nice to know that it's vibrant. These things, are cyclical, as we both know. So I'm glad to hear that it's picked up.
Yeah, and that will change, with the U.S. economy or the Canadian economy, when those start to dip, that extra disposable income or whatever you want to call it, you're going to see a shift, right? If that's your primary source, that's going to pull back a little. Obviously, it's just like anything else. If I was back in the States and things were slowing down economy-wise or somebody lost a job, you're not going to go out and eat dinner as much. And I think that runs through. You're not going to take as many vacations. But we are only an hour and a half from LAX, and there are a good majority of people coming down right now that I've talked to and said, where are you from? We're from Southern California. We're from San Diego. Because they literally just get on a plane and they're here in an hour. hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half long. So, and I've heard actually they were going to try to get direct flights coming in out of the Phoenix airport. I don't know how true that is or not, but Volaris was talking a direct flight from Arizona to here, which would be awesome.
Yeah. So here's a popular question that I've gotten from listeners of my Little Biz podcast here, and that is one on financing. How did you finance your this particular business? I know you and I have, well, you have a couple of things going on, I guess is a way to put it mildly, in terms of business there in Loreto, but how did financing work out for you and Gitanos?
So we did not do any financing, even financing just for a local, resident, not, a citizen, a Mexican citizen. Financing is hard to get, and financing is super expensive. For Rick and I used our savings, and in part, that's why I spent a lot of my days down there putting things together myself, or at least having my hands in it rather than having a GC say, okay, she wants this and she wants that. And so financing is difficult. Even with purchasing homes from here, there's no financing. There was financing for a while out of Citibank up in the States for the North Loreto Bay area. But when our economy in the States and the housing market kind of went belly up, 2006, 7, 8, 9, kind of in that area, all that dried up, all that financing dried up. So it really was the savings for Rick and I that we put in here, which is a big gamble. So it's hard, we're putting hard-earned money into another country.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful answer, and it was more about how you and Rick got it going. But it's very nice to get a broad overview of the climate for getting traditional financing in the area. But I like it. Were there any big challenges with opening Gitanos that were just extraordinary surprises in any way, or was it a lot of stuff that you anticipated?
Being that we'd already built the house, so being that we'd already experienced, if you want a certain appliance or a certain thing, you have to get it shipped down here. Having had that experience already under our belt, that part, was fairly easy. What was a little challenging was, just like in the States, your liquor license. And liquor license can be derived of 2 ways. So you can go to, the Corona, whatever they are down here, and say I want a liquor license. And then, with the right documentation and that you're a citizen and yada, 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 all the stuff they need, little checkoff list, they can actually get you a liquor license for free. But the caveat to that is you can only carry what they want you to carry, what they produce. So if it's not on Corona's production line, then you're not. If Corona has a water and it's XYZ water, you don't get to bring in a different bottle of water. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something I never thought about it, but it makes sense. Yeah.
The problem with that is they have created a monopoly. So they have come in and bought up all the licenses. Because again, just because they're getting one that's not costing anything, that license has still got to earn and generate an income for the municipality, right? Because that's why you have one of the units. So there's only so many licenses that the municipality has issued out. So you're kind of stuck. So in other words, when I wanted to go down and just get a regular liquor license, right, it wasn't going to be, there weren't any. There's nothing. So very similar to the States in California, there's a limit of how many of those licenses are produced out of Santa Clara County. So with that being said, if you want to open something, as long as it's in a spot in which it's, in an area that's allowed, you then need a liquor's license. But if there aren't any, because they've all been owned, right, you then have to find a private source to buy it from. And so ultimately, that's what I ended up doing. So my liquor's license is from Liquor and Restaurant. It's issued in 1985. So it's now been transferred. Yeah, it's been transferred to me. But 1985 I was graduating high school. So it's now my license. And I think in the cost compared to the States, you may pay, an upwards of $100,000, depending on where in California you were trying to get that license. The city, San Francisco, I can't even imagine. San Jose, back maybe 5-10 years ago, I had a girlfriend doing it. I think she paid like $85,000 for her license, to buy it from somebody else. It was like $4,000 for Rick and I. So when you look at a $4,000 investment, that now I can do any alcohol, hard alcohol, any beer, any wine, anything I want to sell there, that license gives me permission to do that. I also think it adds value to the building. So on a resale point of view, a year from now or 5 years or 10 years or whatever, we decide this isn't where we want to be and what we want to do anymore, to sell that with a license, I think it just has benefits, because again, they're not a dime a dozen down here. You just can't go down to the municipality and pay for one and get one. So, but other than that, everything, I still have we're opening October 3rd. I still have a couple things I'm trying to work through. In part, the reason why I have not crossed them off the list yet is probably personal fear. Like, I don't know anything about a, point of sale system. So what point of sale works best? And then I decided the Square was going to be the best after talking with friends in San Francisco that own places and their own places. The vast majority said, use the Square system. It's easy. It's this. So finally, I checked it off my list. But okay, I'm going to do Square, only to be told, no, you can't. We don't. It's not supported in Mexico. Okay. So now I'm back to square one. That's what I was working on before we talked. So things like that. So there's a few hang-ups I still haven't crossed bridges yet, which I know I need to get done because we're really coming into some possible bad weather season, which makes it hard to get what you need to get delivered down here. For me personally, those would be my hardest or my biggest challenges or my biggest speed bumps right now. That's really where I'm stuck on. Okay, I got to get through this. I got to make a decision, pull the trigger, and start training and learning this program. Vendors, like I have a whole list of vendors that I need to contact and set up accounts with. And, it's coming sooner than later. It needs to be organized before, obviously, opening night, that I just haven't done yet for whatever reason. It's been on the back burner when it really should be crossed off the list already.
Well, maybe after this conversation, you'll be thinking about it in a different way. But it all sounds like stuff that you're going to manage to overcome, if that's the right word, and make things happen just based on all the things I know you've been doing in Loreto and in your life, you and your husband. I imagine that you'll get it worked out, and I look forward to hearing how those specific things work out. So we've talked about a lot of stuff: food, brand, appearance, experience. I imagine that around the time you open, people will be able to find out more at gitanoswinebar.com, which you and I are working on together. And that may be what they can find out or what they can learn may grow in some following weeks after October 3rd, so as not to press you too much there, but we're getting pretty close. And this has been helpful. It's been helpful. I think people are going to enjoy learning about you and your husband and your journey in Gitano's Wine Bar. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a friend. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorites. This episode was powered by Copa Print, your solution for quality printing. I'm talking high-quality printing in both digital and offset, with both 2-color and 4-color processes. Worried about carbon footprint? Copa Print uses eco-friendly recycled paper on all paper products. Copa Print is focused on reducing turnaround time and costs. Visit copaprint.net to see all of the amazing products they can produce for your company, to see who some of their clients are, and to request a quote. That's copaprint.net for all of your business printing needs. Be sure to mention that you heard about Copa Print here on the Partner for Leads podcast. They will hook you up with a 10% discount off your first order. This podcast was produced by yours truly for the Partner for Leads community, providing a reporting platform for referral groups, helping them track referrals, closed business, member participation metrics, and more. The intro-outro music is a track composed and performed by my good friend Frank Salazar. Find links to just about everything mentioned in this episode at partnerforleads.blog. Ciao for now.